Welcome to UAD Spotlight. I'm Drew Mazurek with Universal Audio, and in this video, I want to talk about all of the UAD channel strip plugins. This is something I see users talking about online almost on a daily basis. Which is the best? Which is your favorite? What's cool about that one? Why did you pick that one over that one? So I thought I would do a broad overview of all of the UAD channel strip plugins. And hey, while we're at it, let's do a top 10 channel strip tips and tricks list. Say that 10 times fast. I don't think you can do it, but at any rate, let's dive right in and let's talk about what is a channel strip. It's right there in the name. We're taking the channel strip of a console and turning it into a single device. So it typically means that you have EQ and dynamics processing, but that's not always the case. The Neve 1073 and 1084 are taken from consoles that didn't happen to have integrated dynamics per channel, and they're still considered channel strips. Luckily, we live in the digital age, and we get to marry those with any compressor that we want to create a vintage channel strip of our dreams. I'm going to show you how to do that using Luna's track preset feature a little bit later on. Now, it also can sometimes include a preamp. That's certainly the case with the UAD Unison channel strip plugins. And when paired with your Apollo, they allow you to make a classic vintage console right there on the DSP of your Apollo. And that is super cool as well. So let's jump right in, and in no particular order, I want to bring each one of them up and I want to talk about their basic feature set, what's cool about them, and I'm going to give you one tip or trick per plugin. Let's go. So first up is the SSL 4000E channel strip plugin. This is a classic British console, tons of hit records mixed on it. It's what I came up on. It's what I learned on, so it's near and dear to me. It's got a familiar tool set, and it's got everything that you need to mix a record. We have high and low pass filters here, an amazing 4-band parametric EQ, integrated compressor, limiter, expander, and gate. We even modeled the output fader here, and of course, it has a Unison preamp for recording. And that leads me to my tip for this plugin. And that is during the mixing stage, you can run your audio through this preamp. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you hit the flip button and then immediately hit the pad button, that's important because there's going to be a big level jump. This allows you to run your signals back through the mic preamp during mixing and get the coloration of the preamp and the transformer that is a part of it. Super cool. So next up is the API Vision channel strip. This time we're talking about a classic American console, also used on tons of hit records, and it's got a similar tool set here. We have high and low pass filters and a nice 4-band semi-parametric EQ, and as well as integrated dynamics, and of course a mic preamp as well. Now, my tip for this one, this is something that I'm sure lots of you know, but some of you might not have realized that if you come down here and click the type button, you can switch to the 560 graphic EQ built into the Vision channel strip. This was an option on consoles. Typically, someone only got a few modules with it, but with the plugin, you're free to choose between either the semi-parametric or the graphic EQ, which is amazing at tone sculpting anything. All right, on to the next one. So next up is the Neve 88RS, another classic British console. This one known for its big, clean sound, and it has a similar feature set as the other two that I've mentioned, but of course its own sonic signature. So my tip for this one is all about the noise gate. And specifically, I want to draw your attention to this hysteresis control. What this is it applies a differential threshold for signals that are rising versus signals that are falling. What this means is that the signal has to be louder to open the gate, whereas once it's open, it doesn't have to be so loud to close it. This means that the gate won't chatter or stutter and open inadvertently, while it will close down smoothly, maintaining the decay of your snare drum. Check it out for yourself. It is super cool. So next up is another Neve plugin, this time the Neve DFC, or Digital Film Console. This is the algorithm taken from a 90s digital console, and it sounds excellent and has lots of cool capability. And let me just jump right to my tip here. And the thing I love about this plugin is that it's one of the few plugins that allows you to see and use all 4 primary dynamics processing: expansion, gating, compression, limiting. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. On the compress limit side, you can see that I have a compressor threshold and a compressor ratio that operates on those signals. And above that is a limiter circuit with its own threshold and so forth. And if I move over to the expander gate, we have a similar thing where signals can drop low enough, they'll be subject to the expansion. And if they continue to drop, they will be then subject to the gating. This is not often needed, but this level of control is really cool. And I wanted to show that to you here. So next is the UAD Century Channel Strip. I love this plugin. There's a lot packed in here. And so let's walk through it real quick. We have a tube style unison mic preamp here. This is the UA 610 mic preamp. And then in the middle, we have an equalizer. It's a classic British design. I think you know the one I'm talking about. And then finally, we have an opto leveler or compressor here. This is the LA3. And I really don't have a tip for this one, except to say, use it. It's cool. And there's a lot packed into it. So next up, we have the Avalon 737 channel strip plugin. This one models a classic tube channel strip that's got a super silky musical 4-band EQ and a smooth optical compressor. People love this one for hip hop vocals and bass guitar, of course. And I've got 2 tips for you on this one. The first one is make sure you check out high gain input mode. This adds 8 dB of gain when you're mixing in line input mode, and 18 dB of gain when you're using it with your Apollo as a unison channel strip. This makes it great for low output mics like ribbons or an SD1. And my second tip for you, it's a super secret tip. You can't tell anybody else, but if you go over here to the left side of the interface and you click on the logo, it turns black. Wow. So next we have the Manley VoxBox. This is another tube channel strip, but this one's got a cool trick up its sleeve. And that is that the optical compressor is actually in front of the preamp in the signal chain. This means that your signal is pre-leveled prior to hitting the preamp, and this just yields a super smooth sound no matter what you put through it. It also has over here a 3-band Pultec style EQ that is amazing for broad tone shaping. And then above that here in this section, we have a 10-to-1 limiter or 4 different frequencies of de-essing, which makes it great for lots of things. And here's my tip for you on this one. I know vocals is in the name of the plugin, but don't sleep on this. It's amazing on acoustic guitar, drum overheads, really anything you put through it is gonna sound better. So next is the UA LA6176. Now, I've done a full-length video on this one, so make sure you watch that for all of the details, but I'll give you some highlights right now. For me, it's over here on the left-hand side. We have a 610 preamp, and I want to point out that it has a high-pass filter here that you will not find in the standalone 610. I love that. Great for tracking and great for mixing. And then, of course, the really cool part over here is the ability to toggle between an 1176 and an LA2. The cool thing here is I can set the 1176 as I want. I can dial in the LA2A, and I can toggle back and forth between the two and get a really fast A/B and then decide which one I want to use. That is super cool to me. Next is the UA Precision Channel Strip. I wanted to showcase this one because it shows that we can do pure digital processing and it sounds amazing. Over here on the left-hand side, we have a super flexible 5-band EQ. Every band is 20 to 20K. I love that. And then in the middle section, we have a full dynamic section that has auto gain if you want it, super handy. And my tip for you on this one, and the thing I like about this one, are these two knobs out here on the right-hand side. Now, the default signal flow for this is EQ and dynamics. That's what I do 99% of the time. And what's cool about that is the EQ knob here, this separate EQ output control, now allows me to control the level between the EQ and the compressor. So let's say you do a bunch of additive EQ and you've built up a lot of signal and you're pushing too much into the compressor. I can simply bring down the output of the EQ. Or if I'm doing some cuts, I can boost the EQ and control the signal going into the dynamics processors. Very handy. And of course, in this mode, the dynamics output becomes the final output of the plugin. If you do switch the signal flow to dynamics and then EQ, those output knobs, their functionality does switch. So lastly are the classic Neve channel strip plugins. So we're talking 1073 and 1084. And these did not have integrated channel dynamics, but guess what? We're gonna add the 2254, a classic compressor from the era, and we're gonna use Luna's track preset feature to turn it into a channel strip for us. This will not only link the two plugins, but it allows us to store our default settings, places where we like to start from. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I come over here to the 1073, I'm going to engage the EQ, and a lot of the time I want the high pass to be at 80. I often like to cut a little bit of 700, and we'll put in a little bit of sheen, and then I'm going to come over to the compressor and do the same thing, adjust my makeup gain and adjust the release time threshold and so forth and so on. You set it up exactly the way you like it to be as your starting point. And then I'm gonna come down here, right click and choose Save as Preset. Type in a name that makes sense to you, hit save. And now not only are those plugins linked as a channel strip, but your default settings are baked in. You can add this to newly created tracks as you create them, or this can be applied to any track you want at any time. Super cool. So I've got a bonus tip for you Apollo users. I want to remind you about gain stage mode. Some of you are using this. Maybe you've never heard about it. It's really cool. I've got an Apollo Twin on my desktop, and by entering gain stage mode, by pressing and holding the preamp button, you can see that my red input gain has got a circle around it. And now the knob on my Apollo Twin is controlling the input gain stage. If I press preamp again, a amber ring comes around the fader cap, and I'm now adjusting the fader cap with the big knob on my Twin. Press it one more time. I'm adjusting the final clean digital gain at the output of the plugin. If I keep pressing it, I'll cycle through. So I can dial this in exactly as I want. When you want to exit, press and hold, and boom, you're out of gain staging mode. This is a game changer for being able to control your levels in the moment, and I wanted to make sure I showed it to you as one of my tips. So there you go, a broad overview of all the UAD channel strip plugins and my top 10 channel strip tips and tricks mixed in for good measure. I hope this video has given you some ideas to try in your next mix and inspired you to try a plugin that you've never used before. Each one of these has their own unique workflow and their own unique sonic footprint. You'll notice I didn't do any audio examples in this video. That was on purpose. I want you to try these tools on your tracks. And let me know in the comments, which channel strip is your favorite? Which tip or trick that I shared did you find the most helpful? And if you'd like me to cover something in a future video, let me know in the comments as well. And of course, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell button so that you're notified of all new UA content. I'll see you next time.